I was about to do something rather stupid. But to find out what that was, you're going to have to hang on for a moment, because first, this of course is Gamer 1745 here. And I want to thank Tim, Strongarm, Niagro, Timothy, Sir Toyjet, Gary, Garrett, Marcus, and especially the Hoffmanator for support over on Patreon. But everybody else, if you can just, smash the like button and, maybe give this video a comment, I would really appreciate it. You can just say hi or whatnot. Well, okay. First, before we get into what I almost did wrong, let's see about having an alliance with Finland. Get that going here. Now, what did I almost do that was rather stupid? Well, I was sending these 20 divisions, amongst others, quite honestly, and we will have some to the Eastern Front. You think, well, yeah, hey, 20 more divisions there. But then I realized, well, we have these first class, not later Wella divisions with anti-tank and a lot of heavy artillery versus these second wave. That's what Wella means. With no anti-tank, limited, support weapons and whatnot. These guys should be guarding the ports. Not that because, we're going to presume through 1942 we're not going to have a major invasion in Europe, but if we left nothing there would probably be some sort of invasion. So we're going to see about improving that, doing that better, shall we say. Okay, we just got better Stukas. Now let's take a look at. We currently have the 87B, just 4 factories I know, very underproduced. Let's go see. Yeah, okay, just a little worse there. But we're shifting things around to do a little better. They're on a general offensive, though it looks like we're holding with Rommel's help here. We should still have. Yes, we have. We have air superiority here at least. Very good. And yes, I've just removed all of the forces from here. Hopefully the locals will be able to handle that, because we are getting ready for Barbarossa. Alright, well, now that these guys are here, you get to watch me. Let's occupy the ports. That's sort of key. Don't know that we're gonna keep troops everywhere here that we have currently. Okay, so Antwerp is the port. We want to make sure that we at least have that occupied. So if we do get a surprise invasion, we can at least hopefully hold the ports and delay them from pushing inward. Okay, Rotterdam, yeah, it's also important. That would have been left open. You can just march to Rotterdam. A little better to defense there. These are good divisions, fully equipped. Oh, we're going to be a lot of fighting coming up on the Eastern Front here, I think, soon. Oh, we can move to here. Oh, the monorails, come on. And because I can eventually form one army. Oh, we've captured a British agent. How are we not air superiority over Aegean? We're gonna see if we can change that with you. There's something to. I don't know why I can't put air units into the Hellenic state. I know they're an Italian puppet, but I can put them into other. I don't know, and they are. They are in the Axis. So I don't get to why I can't put air units there. I have ground units. These guys, and they're not. It's like saying that they're in, you know, unfriendly territory. Okay, well, now here. Those guys will be spread out to some degree as well here. So, we can push across there and push up that way. And because these Wella divisions do not have anti-tank, and we very well may run into anti-tank, we're going to intermix them. So this is one thing that I get, that there are a lot of differences in units between, say, Hungarian and German, or Romanian German, or Italian and German, beyond just the language barrier. The language barrier is significant. And I get that there's a lot of people out there that just want, use an example. We're playing currently, and it will end up being a series here, segmented series here on YouTube, calling it German Ministers and Generals, or something like that, in which I play the leader, and some members of Team G are, playing different roles within the government, and military, and maybe shifting more towards the military as we get ready for the war, actually get to fighting it, as opposed to, peacetime. Our one current serving member of the U.S. military, he wanted to make all of the German divisions the same, and I let him disband the cavalry division that Germany had. And it's no big deal either way, and it's still around here. And Germany did have the German army, to be very specific, had one and one only cavalry division during World War II. It had other cavalry units that were often attached to corps or whatever, used as German cavalry units used as reconnaissance elements, and it had a bunch of foreign formations, Cossack units serving with the German army or whatever. But I'm talking about proper German other, I don't know, Cossack divisions, because the German army did, not just the SS, have foreign units fighting as sort of as part of it in service of the Wehrmacht, whatever. But proper Germany only had one cavalry division during the war, though they used lots and lots of horses. And he just wanted to get rid of that to make everything the same. And okay, whatever. It didn't matter to me, so I appeased him and let him to do that. And he also wanted to get rid of either artillery or heavy artillery. So you're just producing one. Well, I don't know, honestly, how much is him versus particularly the U.S. Army. I know, at one point, everything would have been M1, an M1 jacket, an M1 helmet, an M1 rifle, an M1 carbine, an M1 pistol, an M1 and an M1 and an M1 boots. And, so hand me that M1. Oh, what? I mean, this was leading up to early stages of World War II with the switching over, shall we say, and I have, when I say photos, I just collect, digital photos. I'm not saying originals. I do have some original photos. Big collection, actually, from World War I that I bought at auction many years ago. But mostly when I say I have photos, I just collect digital photos. One photo from right around 1941, I think it was, fairly early, with two current serving U.S. Army soldiers next to each other. One with what we would say is a World War I uniform. Not exactly. There are significant changes from World War I, but still with the, the Brodie helmet, the style, the Tommy helmet, the British style helmet versus, the World War II style helmet, and the web gear. Some of the stuff is left over from World War I. Some of the stuff is slightly modified from World War I, standing right next to the new version of the soldier that commonly looks in World War II. And so when they were coming out with all that new stuff, everything was getting M1 this, M1 that. And I'm sure the Army, when we do the next helmet, it'd be the M2 helmet and the M3 helmet and the M4 helmet. Okay, the U.S. Army institutionally hates special. You can see this as the idea of like when Shinseki, the then head of the U.S. Army, gave everybody berets. Everybody has berets. And you Rangers, well, your black beret is going to become tan. Yes, that so similar to the similar color. I mean, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but as the SAS, but everybody gets black berets. Because the Army of One, because I think that was when the slogan was out then, and everyone's equally special. Yeah, some have different colors of berets, but everyone has berets now. I don't know if that's still around for outside of the Special Forces because they've gone back to, well, I don't know. I don't keep up with all the Army regulations. Because they've gone back to sort of a World War II style green dress uniform is what I would, and I say style, and not that it's exactly the same. I don't think, definitely not constructed exactly the same, but more green as opposed to, because for a while they went to blues, because that was the traditional U.S. uniform, was blue uniform. But so they don't like, it institutionally does not like variances. How did I get down this road? Cavalry, making everything the same. Sure, if we have a factories, or we have time to set up, and we're going to have factories, and they're going to make, then I don't believe everything should be the same. And some stuff would be, light artillery, medium artillery, heavy artillery. Absolutely, I think there should be variances and things like that. And they should be maintained, and there are good reasons for them. But when you're dealing with something like World War II, and you're dealing with the realities of the current situation, whatever basic nation faction you're looking at, the Soviet Union, the US, the British, the Germans, the Italians, whoever. Even with the Americans, yeah, they have more than enough tanks. They got so many tanks that, I think it was like 600 Sherman tanks were collected that were in fine working condition, though they had been driven around a lot. So they might be time for a refit, take back, disassemble, reassemble, clean up, keep good functioning. So again, U.S. Army member of Team G said, damn, I hate the M113. There's so many maintenance problems, blah, 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 because he's in the infantry and having to maintain the thing. I go, whoa, wait a minute. I haven't heard about a lot of maintenance problems, and what you're talking about now is probably a 40 to 60-year-old vehicle, and I'm sure I'm not disputing his experience with the M113, but that's what it is now, that it's an old, used up piece of equipment that the Army has refitted several times and keeping in service. Or I remember when they were coming into the Beretta pistol for the U.S. Army, how terrible the 1911 was. It was so rattly, and it was, and, that's because they were still using freaking World War One, or not World War One, they were the 1911 A1, World War II production guns that had just been overused. And yeah, by that point, those particular 1911s were, well past their sell-by date, and cool for collectors and cool for casual shooters that just want one and whatnot. But yeah, they were used up piece of equipment. Not that even the World War II version of the 1911 was unsuitable, not that they couldn't use an update. And obviously you can see modern tactical combat versions of the 1911 with a lot of improvements that you couldn't have done. Yes, and I do understand, and there is very good reason in why I would do a 9mm pistol, is particularly capacity. So yeah, but it's not, some of the complaints that were leveled against the 1911 were leveled against ancient 1911s that had been used up. Not that they're, and they're still new in box crates, the 1911s or whatever, that people have maintained, collected. Oh yeah, I somehow scored that whole box of never opened 1911. So yeah, they still exist, that are ready to go as if the day out of the factory, just need to be cleaned and, properly oiled up, and they're as good as day one. So yeah, things get old and used up, but I think it was about 600 Shermans that were sort of after the North Africa and maybe the Sicily campaign. We're like, yeah, what do we do with these? Because they'd sent over new, improved Shermans, re-equipped the American forces with them, and there really wasn't a... okay, we're going to support this attack, and we're going to support that attack as well from there. And so, they were sent back to America because they were not, destroyed in combat. The U.S. was not increasing the size of the forces. I know many of you have watched a lot of my episodes and know, the U.S. Army decided, and I think it's just sort of a decision as opposed to like a particular detailed metric, but decided at one point that it was only going to deploy 100 divisions overseas, no more, because they had to support all of those divisions from here, meaning food, ammunition, boots, uniform, every bit of thing that needed to be sourced from America. I'm absolutely sure that troops stationed in Australia were eating Australian-grown food, though in Britain they probably were eating some British-grown food, but of course we were, and also doing lots of Lend-Lease or just sending food to Britain to keep them afloat. And so that's the point, is even if they are eating some Australian, units down in Australia eating some Australian food, they're still shipping out food everywhere that were, food being delivered to some, forward garrisoned Australian or New Zealand or whoever units at times were probably eating American food. I don't have specific data on it, but I'm just sure of it. So, looking at the world in that way, the Americans were shipping over, all the Lend-Lease, whether it's to Britain, to Soviet Union, to Australia, to India. They were also, not just Lend-Lease, but shipping over food supplies to Britain to keep them afloat and everything, everywhere else, and supplying also the American Air Corps, the American Navy overseas bases, all the auxiliary forces that aren't particularly in the 100 divisions, core assets, independent tank battalions or tank destroyer battalions, and all kinds of other forces. And it was a sea lift capacity that was decided, we're just going to stick to 100 divisions, no more than that. So they had more than that. And I don't know the state of all the divisions and whatnot, but they had a bunch more. Partially, what if D-Day or Sicily or whatever goes wrong and those divisions are knocked out? Maybe not captured, maybe not everyone, killed or something. They may be pulled out. But, if you're looking at a Dunkirk-like thing, if it would have happened, okay, well, instead of, trying to rebuild that division in Europe, well, we'll just, because the ships are going back and forth both ways, we'll just put, the men on board the ships, send them home. They can reconstitute themselves in America, ship out a new replacement division, and, parcel up whatever the remainder of the equipment that might have been withdrawn. So they, were more prepared than what ended up needing to happen, because we'd have just a few incidents of significant, look at the Battle of the Bulge, some of the Rangers and others that were pushed a little too far, a little too early in Anzio, and then, got captured. So very, very rarely were the significant formations of Americans so badly damaged that they needed to be rotated out. So, the Americans were not having the heavy casualties needed to use up the tanks. So the Americans are producing and getting into the field more tanks than are being destroyed, and they're not going to just increase the size of the forces with the extra equipment. Now, a lot of those tanks that were brought back are eventually picked up by the Commonwealth, whether for training in places like Canada, or sent down to, the Australians, so whether, in Indians and whatnot, they're a whole hell of a lot better than anything Japan's using. And so some, refurbished American Shermans, they're excellent in that field. So a lot of them did get used in some other capacity. But so, yes, America is making more than enough that for at least, frontline combat troops, everybody's using M1 Garands. No one's using the Springfield 1903 or even, P-17 Enfields, from earlier days, unless they're a sniper. And yes, I do believe a bunch of the Springfields do get sent to frontline areas, but they're like given to an artillery unit. If everything goes reasonably well, that artillery unit will never shoot its guns in anger. It's rifles. It just has rifles because everyone, all the soldiers on the truck somewhere, there's a rifle. They're, servicing guns. So they're very well, and I'm not saying, definitely they did sniper versions of those guns. So yes, the snipers, the marksmen may have had the Springfields. And people like artillery and other auxiliary formations sure had Springfields, but did not, and I don't know the numbers or how often they were equipped there, but I don't believe any frontline American infantry units used anything but, as a basic rifle. Obviously, they had M1 carbines. Now that was another thing. A lot of the artillerymen were issued M1 carbines where they could, instead of, full caliber rifles. A lot of units had equal numbers of M1 carbines and M1 Garands, and it just, again, artilleries or the mortarmen. So something like a mortarman or a crewman for a machine gun, or a vehicle driver like for a truck or a half track that's, a combat, presumably an armored half track is going to get in the ways of bullets flying. you don't give the driver necessarily a big clunky M1 Garand to keep in his little, driver compartment for the half track. You give him an M1 carbine that he very well may needs to, defend himself with, but it's not meant to be a frontline weapon. So they use lots of M1 carbines, but again, mostly for people, not primarily as a frontline shooter. So yes, the Americans are sort of unique in that way. But looking at somebody like Germany and the Axis, because I'm also including these other formations, and I really wish there was a decent mod that would allow me to play these nations without just absorbing them into Germany. And so they're useful. They're useful. The equipment is useful. The troops are useful. Sometimes, obviously, anti-partisan type work, which could be, going out and fighting the guerrillas or just guarding bridges, making sure no one blows up the bridge, guarding rail stations, guarding depots. There's that. But they're also useful because these units, changes over time and theoretical order of battles of divisions versus actual divisions all change and flow. But often during World War II, through a good chunk of it, when you hear Soviet division, think brigade or maybe reinforced brigade. When you hear corps, think division. Okay. Or reinforced division, not like 2 or 3 full proper divisions. For a lot of command and control reasons, lack of radios, lack of trained officers, or the ability of the officers, because they did find with the Finland campaign, the big divisions that they had up there, the combination, as well as the interference or just simple fear of, that's interference, even if they didn't actually say or do anything, of the commissars and whatnot at post the purges, limit, show that the command staff is not able to functionally handle as big a unit. So they, instead of, they just reorganize into having what's a division as a smaller formation. I think a lot, again, units get grinded up. They're not in as good a status. But I think a lot of Hungarian and Romanian divisions are probably equal to about a Soviet division, or maybe a bit more than that, because again, I'm saying they're sort of like brigades or reinforced brigades, but they're not equal to 2 or 3 Soviet corps or a Soviet armored division or 2 coming in and smashing them. So where you find, this is where I'm thinking Stalingrad, when you're putting the Italians and the Romanians and the Hungarians out along here, and you're putting all the German formations in here, that's where you get these breakthroughs and everything falling apart. So if you were to, and I know I've gone a long ways around, which I tend to do. So if you were to go, oh, hey, we're going to attach 1 Romanian battalion to each German division, even if the country and the army of Romania would somehow be relatively accepting of this fact, because they weren't that much of a puppet. We can, sometimes talk about different levels of puppetry. It goes on at different times. But they weren't that much of a puppet to want to accept that. So even if they weren't going to balk at that, that would be a battalion of officers and NCOs and enlisted men trained differently, even if they have enough interpreters to talk in and outside of the battalion. And even if they, I don't know, happen to, in some cases they do, I don't know everywhere, but use the same calibers, but sometimes they use different calibers. So even if they use the same ammunition, coming off the same trucks, it varies. And I don't know all the details. But so even if they did all of that, you're going to have this one battalion that's like not going to work well with the rest of the division. That's too much integration. I think the key would have been maximum core, but I would have seen more about the idea for integrating like a Hungarian or Romanian division into a German corps. That would have made things a lot better, and definitely into German armies. I'm not, multiple corps. So that the idea maybe you would have two German corps and a third Romanian or Hungarian corps, and that would have been much, much more useful. And yeah, and so dealing with the realities of the world at the time, these forces are useful. Italian forces are useful. Okay, it would be sort of nice to punch a bit north here. So let's send up here. And so, like I said, I would love to have a game, a mod, in which I could play. Now, I think some of the reasons, maybe not all the reasons, maybe not even most of the reasons, but some of the reasons they don't do that, because I can't imagine them not being able to integrate or change it so that one person can operate or control additional nations if Paradox wants to. I think they're bad AIs, and if you were to do that too much, it would just be too much in favor of the player. Okay, so we're going to have, and no, realistically, obviously, it would be better to reorganize this and be more sensible, but I don't know that I'm going to take the time to do that. And yes, I know, and we're not, it's probably because of my talking here and all of this fiddly stuff. Yes, I could do it off camera, but I guess I'm not going to, because people do like to both hear me blather on and like to see what you're doing, because I consider this playing the game, even though the clock isn't ticking. So how many days? So this might be, hey, you have a whole episode that's an hour long and the clock doesn't even move. Well, that may be the case. Okay, so we're at least getting the ports here. I think, don't know if Calais was. Let's send one up to Calais. We can move that around. Okay, and one division will send back to Paris as part of occupation duties. All right, so that's going to get those guys. Let's take a little look. Oh, okay, we killed a submarine there, good. They got a convoy. We've got a South African convoy. Let's take a look at Japan here for the moment. All right, well, China has retaken Beijing. Beijing is still holding out as a Japanese puppet. Japanese military district is sort of kind of existing. And down here is actually doing relatively well. This this is a what is grant? It's, I don't know. This is direct. I mean, this is where the resources are. I get it. I don't know. I just give that to Japan or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to hear their reasoning on it before I fully condemn or whatever the practice of having that there. Just me fighting? No. Okay, there are some Italian forces also fighting there. Right. Okay, so now we're going to have to eventually pull this out from there. Okay. Well, let's move them over this way. Just get them in theater, as it were. And yes, I will be pulling these out from von Rundstedt's command, if that's where they still are. And sending them back. And I know this is weakening some of the elements, and I'm taking a risk. Don't know how bad this is going to be for the Soviets. Been warned. I'm dealing with now. Obviously, those are T-34s. Those are BTs of some model represented there. You're just seeing an armored division along here, so I don't know and where the Soviet army is, how strong it is. I am getting ready for a... Okay, so they are... We have 2 in Calais. I don't think we need 2 in Calais. Up partisan activity. I'm sure we're moving all those extra forces. Or, I don't know if those are extra forces, but occupation forces. Okay, I guess we can leave the 2 in Calais for the moment. Okay, alliance with Finland. Don't we have insufficient? Okay, aluminum needed. Oh, wow. Why do we need so much aluminum? Is somebody like buying my aluminum? Yes, Italy's fucking buying my aluminium. My take on that is aluminum and aluminium are 2 different words. So it's not because they're different spellings. They're 2 different words. One is primarily used in Britain. One is primarily used in America. That mean the same thing. So they're 2 different. It's not which way to say it. It's just 2 different words. Okay, so what we need to do here is, I mean, we do have a closed economy, but Italy is still able to get some aluminum. Not that I don't want them to have... have enough aluminum to build their needed aircraft. What did I just do? Did I? Oh, no, damn. Oh, well. Wanted to reactivate a core steel mill. Okay, we have promised revenge. Very good. Now, so we have that. Strong arm Sweden, but I think we're going to do next here. We do have this coming, but let's do foreign SS recruitments. We'll see about getting some foreign units in there. I don't know how weak we're going to leave. Norway, but I do think we are going to even though we are going to need to shift some aircraft. Okay, well, Dolfo. See, even they call it Adolf Galland. Dolfo is his nickname. Okay, so that's Nord. Coming from here, it looks like. German Blight. German Blight, Northwest. Are these just over? What? Yeah, okay, we're moving that. We're moving that to deal with some of the forces there. Now I have set forces up here. Yeah, let's do. Well, no, let's not have them do anything. Let's just save the fuel for now. We're not that close. We're looking at more like May probably for the invasion. Okay, looks like we're having some bombers come over. But so far everything's green. Except for down here, I know this isn't green. So let's... I'm not sure what... Oh, we can now... Okay, we can now come in and occupy. Part of the reason I wanted to be here is these are overstuffed. So let's come down to here. That's no longer because I shifted a bunch of forces out. We don't need to be over Greece because we're no longer fighting in Greece, but we will come down here and do that. Well, what do I... So I'm going to be shifting forces around. I know these guys are going for naval striking. Well, let's... this is overly... Oh, you can just move up to there. Keep operating out of there. We're not winning our air war over here. Okay, well, we have 200 fighters up. They got 190. Got a lot of enemy missions here. Don't know why we're not missioning. Well, these got... Well, okay, okay, we're gonna get rid of our supply forces. Let's... I don't know. Where do we... do we try an airborne assault there? Let's get these guys out of theater as well. I don't know. Let's just send them up to Berlin. Is there a good... Okay. Wait. 3.1. see, and I'm not used to using this, as you can tell. Obviously, no ground agility, air defense, supply use, range, speed, miscellaneous stats, reliability, mine laying, surface detection, sub-detection, night penalty, ground attack. What I want to know is how much airborne troops can they handle? Because we have this down here. Let's move you down to. We can move you down to Trieste. Yeah, down to Trieste, and then be a ship to here. Thinking about an airborne invasion of Cyprus. And thinking of that, let's see, is there one of, yeah, there's one of these guys still over Greece, which we don't really need. You come to here, and you come to reconnaissancing there. Maybe we'll get an idea how strongly it's garrisoned, and then maybe we can drop in and... Oh, good. So they've taken that. Let's see if we can do this. No. That way. See if we can do that. See if Rommel can be brilliant. Get a big pocket of troops. Must have. Well, I noticed instead of Mannerheim, it's this other dude here. SDP, some socialists. What are they? Some sort of puppet of the Soviet Union now? Oh, God. Well, they left the faction. That didn't work out. Maybe there was something in there that said, only do this if you're at war with the Soviet Union. Oh. I mean, not that everything has to work out historically, but come on, people. Now, I thought they both would have gotten there at the same time, or virtually so. Okay, well, now that you're both there... Well... Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know. That would be the brilliant move, to take out 13 divisions would be lovely. Let's see if there's some division, or some decisions, I should say. No, we're not going to give Himmler. We're going to do Tannenberg. Don't have enough equipment to deploy more. Was our... Okay, we still don't have... Oh, we didn't reactivate enough. Oh, damn, I did that wrong. Okay, well... Well, I reactivated a core steel mill. I'm going to close a core steel mill. Yeah. They're going, what, the Fuhrer is crazy? Well, of course he's crazy, but, you know, he's also nuts. Okay, well, our aircraft are engaging something and we're getting sunk still, which I'm not surprised. Why are we even... Okay, let's look back at... Oh, shit. Why the hell are we sending supply... Oh, shit. Is there a way, and I'd love for somebody to post it, I don't want to try to dig it out, sorry. Is there a way, like in Hearts of Iron 3, to turn over convoys over to manual? We're going to go not to go there. I know that should be a way to shut that down. I don't need to have these convoys lost stupidly. Because we should be able to supply Norway well enough overland going up through to Oslo from down here, or down, you know, through Germany or whatever. They're trying a big offensive. Well, can we hold them back? Okay, Panzer 2D, nice. Well, let's look at, because that's part of the reason why I did this, was to have the ability to do some of these things. Black Panzer 1. Stug A. Let's do the Stug A. Do that. Alright, well. We have got a massive amount of synthetic oil coming in. I'm not saying it's enough. We'll see once we get going. This is part of my learning experience with this mod. Okay, well, now we have 20 aluminum. That's probably the 20 aluminum we just activated and got. Yay. I really like my condors, so let's grab up another add to production. And we can add another one to here. Once we get some more factories, which are coming in short order. Is it down here? Okay. There we go. And you guys are here. Well, hopefully the Adriatic and even down here isn't too badly, you know, being interfered with to sink that. Okay, well, the Italians are doing okay on the defensive here. I was sort of worried about, you know, getting cut off. I still am a bit, because they're grinding through those guys. But not too heavily, hopefully. Now? Not now. Okay. We probably should use that some other way. Air doctrines, though. We've got a lot. Naval mission efficiency up 10%. Well, we're not doing much strategic bombing here, so Increase agility there, air superiority, fighter detection. Well, this makes the additional agility shouldn't make all these things fight off other enemy air better. Fighter, heavy fighter agility. Yeah, I guess we could do that as well. Win some of the, hopefully take less losses. Oh, we didn't look at any naval stuff. Should we do that? I don't know. No, let's, well, fleet convoy support. Escort efficiency, sub-detection. Wolfpack, we can come down here. Yeah, okay. Surface detection, cruiser torpedo reveal chance minus. Yeah, we'll do that. Hopefully operate some better at our various battles. Okay, we also got a lot of, let's take a quick look at our resistance mode. Okay, this is partially we've been having higher resistance up here. I think it's lower because he's doing his job down here now. First off, I want to say I think this is a lot better than the system in Hearts of Iron 3. At the same time, because, you know, that has the generic leadership. Okay. I get it. You know, do you have more, do you train more officers? Or do you train more diplomats? Presumably they're coming from the same pool of people, or roughly so. Or do you train more spies, or, you know, various, or have more leadership in research and development, you know, educated people. Okay, so I get, now obviously sometimes the spies can be not from your elite class of people, whether they are, you know, I'm not, elites I don't necessarily mean by, varies from society to society, don't necessarily mean like be aristocrats or anything like that, but just you're educated, you're or self-improved person, meaning a farmer ain't going to make a good spy. He just isn't. Now you may go, oh, but he might know all that's going on in around the countryside around his farm, and so he might be a contact that the spy gets, and he may, you know, the farmer may, well, there were 5 trucks driving by yesterday going north, and the day before that there were 3 trucks going north, and, you know, so he may be the local farmer may be, you know, one of the assets a spy uses, but and of course a farmer can improve himself to become something else, but then he's no longer just a farm, you know. So what I'm saying is yeah, you know, someone who grew up on a farm and may know how to farm, but goes off and becomes worldly enough to, whether within his society, he has to move through, you know, in his country is what I'm saying, society, or through a foreign society, you know, be a person who can coordinate and move through things. And that's what we're talking about here with operatives. It isn't, the operative isn't some, you know, some low-level asset. So, like I say, I like what they've done here. What I don't like necessarily is, and I really quite on it, and it's more I'm taking feedback from other, because he should be rooting out, resistance. Feedback from what other people are saying is some of these operations may be a bit too overwhelming. I would, from what I hear, agree with that. Now, well, let's see. We can become a spy master, pay 50. I'm not going to just... Service by requirements is basically where I want to be because I don't want to go to either of those. Whether I got here early enough, I don't know. We'll see. Chief of the Navy, there are things I'd want to do. But what I would like to see is this system broadened out to be able to handle a lot more people instead of just having, oh, we have 3, 4, 5 spies. Have 20, have 30. For some big nation like Germany or Britain, that some are and I would make very much historically based persons. One I'm thinking of is like T.E. Lawrence, which, he did some sort of spying and sort of guerrilla warfare commanding operation, sort of inciting resistance, shall we say? Because I would say that's a good bit of what he was doing with down here with Faisal and the Arabs during World War One. So you very well may have specialists in certain nations and regions, as well as with certain talents, and so that you try to have spies in all kinds of places and roles and whatnot. Some of them being sort of managerial, like Reinhard Heydrich. He gets sent down to be Constantine van der Ross' functional replacement, I would say. He is thought to, Van der Roth is thought to be going too light on the checks. He is not removed from power, but basically he's sidelined with Reinhard Heydrich being his immediately junior, but actually sort of taking over and not answering at all to him, but answering, of course, to Himmler and Hitler, not to him. So he's sort of, rooting out resistance and whatnot. That's sort of his job in Czechoslovakia or Bohemian Moravia or whatever you want to call it. That's sort of his job there. And so you may get some personalities like that are not so much suit wearing or guys that are going, undercover in, other nations. And they might have some people like that have very poor stats at doing, that kind of thing. So you send, Rudolf Hess to England. He might be able to get to England just fine, but very quickly get captured. So, yeah. But I like that idea of doing better spying, having a better spying game. But I think it's a combination of too much and too little. Maybe too big of an impact for some of these things, costing 15 factories for 30 days. Really? For portable radios? Okay, a bunch of, how many portable radios? 15 factories? How, civilian factories, what's that? Half of a military IC for invisible ink? How many factories research for that? Plastic explosive? Suicide pills? Nah, no. I mean, that there's any sort of factories for that. So that more chance of having, get out of that. Diplomatic training? Factories? I get the idea that, in some of these, have multiple layers, um, that they should have costs, and whether it's political power or, because it used to be leadership. I don't know, maybe have, maybe just, have spy power, because you're no longer a slider between, leadership of how many officers you have, how many researchers you have, and how many um, uh, spies you have. And you could have, some of the top level here take some, and some depending on, like, oh, you're producing a bunch of portable radios, or uh, radio interception trucks, which are other portable radios, if you will. And so, some of these might have, and some expanding some of these up here, that you expand their departments, you expand out how much spy power you have. That could be a good thing. And every nation out there, from, I don't know, 0 spy power ever functionally, unless someone mods it in, to, I don't know, 100, or 1,000, or whatever. I don't know how you want to scale the functional scales between 0 and whatever, but to be able to do that kind of stuff, so that you can run around and do a lot of interesting things, but maybe things that are only marginal, if you will, at going after the outcomes of the game. Ultimately, well, we lost a couple submarines, but we took out convoy. This definitely seems, and I don't, I have a bunch of, as you can see here, various numbers of submarines, and we for a while fully cut off Britain from here, from North America and South America. Now we've also added here, which does sort of, I guess they can come through there, but it's cutting off things a bit more. Well, I think, again, we've gone on long enough, so I want to thank you all for hanging out with me. I'm having fun playing. I'm having fun talking about the topics. I hope they are of interest to you. See you next time for, yes, even more Hearts of Iron.